I want to talk today about living a longer, healthy life. I want to tell you that 10 extra years of healthy life is now a very realistic possibility, and I believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to accomplish it. I'm sure you're all familiar with the fact that we have genes that provide the information for our body to make particular compounds. For example, we have genes that code for hemoglobin for us to carry oxygen in the blood to our important organs, or a gene for insulin to allow glucose to be carried into cells. It turns out there's actually a gene that largely determines how long we will live, what diseases we're going to be susceptible to, and actually how smart we're going to be. About 20 years ago, a researcher in Japan was working in a completely different field. And purely by chance, he created a mouse that had a very short lifespan. They didn't die of any particular disease. They just looked shriveled up, had wrinkly skin, they were weak, had poor muscle tone, poor cognitive abilities. They essentially died of old age at 20% of the normal lifespan. What Professor Kuro had done is he had deleted the gene that is necessary for a long, healthy life. Kuro and his colleagues continued to work on this gene, which they ended up calling Klotho. Klotho was one of the 3 Greek goddesses, the Fates, who determined all of the aspects of one's life. And Klotho was actually the particular one who spun the thread of life, and so was responsible for how long we would live. I think it's an appropriate name. Kuro continued to work on Klotho for several years, and until he was able to create another type of mouse, this time one that produced more Klotho than normal. And guess what? As shown on the diagram here, these animals live 20 to 30% longer. Well, this was such an exciting discovery that it stimulated scientists all over the world to really get into Klotho, try and work out its mechanism of action, what impact it had on disease, etc. They also studied the human gene for Klotho, and in fact discovered that there were some significant variations. But the important question everyone had at this point in time was, did the animal data that we had discovered in mice apply to humans? And the exciting answer I'm here to tell you today is, the answer is yes. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University and the University of California, San Francisco found that about 25% of the human population naturally produces more Klotho than normal. And these individuals have longer lifespan. They have larger brains. The prefrontal cortex of their brains is measurably larger. They have higher cognitive thinking abilities. And in fact, they measure out to have an average of 6 points higher IQ than the rest of us. There's also a very small group of people who have the genetic makeup that only allows them to produce much less Klotho than normal. And these individuals have substantially shorter lifespan and lower cognitive skills than the rest of us. What attracted me to Klotho Therapeutics is that they are developing or trying to develop Klotho as a drug. And they're doing it in the most direct way, which is developing proteins like the natural material that can be injected, just like we inject insulin today. This evidence is particularly strong in mice. It turns out that most of the Klotho in our bodies is produced in the kidneys. And when you have kidney failure, the Klotho production is shut down, and this leads to a downward spiral in kidney function. Kidney disease affects 850 million people around the world, more than 10% of the global population, and kills millions of people every year. Kuro's colleagues at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas found that injection of Klotho into mice that had kidney failure reduced the damage to the kidney, promoted healing of the kidney, prevented this progression of the disease to a chronic condition, and actually prevented the formation of heart failure, which is the leading cause of death amongst those patients. Other work has shown, but by other scientists, has shown that Klotho injection reduces the size of tumors in cancer, reduces frailty and muscle wasting in older animals, and perhaps most importantly is the impact on cognition. Work done at UCSF has indicated that a single injection of Klotho into young or old mice improves their ability to learn, it improves their cognitive skills and executive functioning skills. We expect to see similar results to this when we go into humans, and so we are driving forward as quickly as possible to get started in human clinical trials. I'm confident that with Klotho, we can live well longer. I'm very optimistic that in the next 3 to 5 years, Klotho will be approved for kidney disease, for cognitive function, and for improving the diseases of aging. Thank you.